Thank you for joining us this evening. We're hoping to just give you some, I suppose, some shared sort of thoughts and some ideas around what we're doing in school concerning SEND pupils, but not just SEND pupils. I would also say it's about the inclusive approach that we're taking in school with technology. So we're really lucky this evening because Estelle Ewing has joined us from Mowmacre Primary School. Estelle is the assistant head teacher at Mowmacre, but as well, Estelle, I'm sure you wear many other caps, don't you? As well as I think DSL and I think supporting the role of SEND as well occasionally, don't you? So
yes, my main role is to do with curriculum, but I am also a DSL. I do teach part-time in year 2 for this year, but I'm also going across school with behaviour and some of the SEN things as well, so trying out new initiatives.
Yeah, so that's brilliant. So that's why we're very lucky this evening to have Estelle with us, to have that expertise, but also to have that take of what it's like in school, you know, actually in the classroom, as well as being a member of SLT as well. So if you do have any questions, please put them into the chat bar this evening, or as Estelle and I are talking, please use the reactions. It's always nice to see if you agree or not through the reactions as well. If you don't want to type anything, that would be great. So without further ado, I'm going to pass over to Estelle, if that's all right, and hopefully, well, I know Estelle's going to share some really nice thoughts with us, and again, as I say, just please ask if you're not sure or you've got any comments. Thanks, Estelle.
Okay, can you see that okay, Jo?
Yeah, that's great.
Brilliant. Okay, so I was asked to come tonight to talk about how we support children with special educational needs within schools, and especially through the blended learning teaching approach. So really it's broken into 2 areas, and we're thinking about how can we use technology as assistive technology to help the children access the curriculum if they've got a specific special need, but also then we have things like apps and how we can use the platform to promote metacognition, meaning that the children are able to practice the skill and the knowledge until they remember it. So we've got the 2 different areas there. So the first thing that I'm going to show you, this is a young boy that we have in year 1, and he has specific needs with speech and language difficulties, and he uses assistive technology. And you'll see him here with his one-to-one teaching assistant, and he uses something called Quopro to go. It's a bit of a strange mouthful there, but you can see he's using this to be able to communicate between himself and the TA. So I'm going to show you a quick snippet of that.
Okay, Shay, what did you want for lunch today? What was it that you wanted for lunch?
Vegetables.
Vegetables.
I like vegetables. Not vegetables.
You don't want vegetables?
Courgette.
Courgette.
So you can see there he's looking at the choices for lunch that day, and to start with he's just communicating that he says he likes vegetables, but actually when Jack repeats it back, his teaching assistant is very quick to put the no in front, so he's able to communicate he doesn't want the vegetables, he only likes courgettes. But this this iPad with the Quopro to go on, he uses this within the curriculum. He does speak at times as well, but it's really nice because it's very much based on the my turn, your turn. So he sees Jack, his TA, modelling how to use it, and then Shay can use it to communicate his needs or any answers to things in the curriculum as well. So this is a nice example of assistive technology that's specific to a certain child. Okay, the next element of assistive technology we can use is Immersive Reader, and all of our schools in Discovery are using Microsoft Teams, and most of the classes, especially from year 2 and above, are using Onenote as well, and they can use something called Immersive Reader. And you'll just see a quick video here of how to use it so that it reads to you, but also how to use the picture dictionary, because within it, when you hover over specific words, it will show you a picture as well. So I'm just going to show you how that is used. So you see, you click onto the view and then Immersive Reader, and then you can click on for it to be read to you, and you can change the speed.
A dolphin is a marine animal that is part of the whale family. Dolphins have smooth, rubbery skin and are usually a mixture of black, white and grey in colour. They have 2 fins on their sides, a triangular fin on their back and a tail. A dolphin's tail is horizontal, unlike fish. Like other whales, they have an insulating layer of fat under the skin called blubber to protect them in the harsh cold of the freezing seas. Dolphins are mammals, not fish, so they are warm-blooded and are able to maintain their body temperature.
So you see now, if we go back up to the front, so if this was a child, I'm just going to pause that for a moment. If this was a child and they were using this in their topic lessons, so in their science or history, this allows them to access the research at the same level as everybody else. So we are leveling the playing field because they can just click view and Immersive Reader and they can have this read to them, so that the language or the reading ability is not a barrier. So they can start off by using Immersive Reader to have it read to them. They can alter the voice and they can also alter the speed. So it's the style of voice, male or female, and then the speed of the reading as well. So it suits them. They could listen to it once or twice, but they can also use what's called the picture dictionary. So when we're looking at topic lessons like history or geography or science, there are certain technical words that are in there for the vocabulary. And if you're thinking of a child who maybe English is an additional language, the picture dictionary is a really good way to go over the vocabulary they're being introduced to. So you're going to see the same text now, but me just hovering over words so that you see a picture that will help the children with their understanding of the vocab.
Dolphin. Dolphin. Dolphin.
You see the picture and you can have the word read again.
Marine.
Where I've seen this most effectively used is within the classroom and within the science lessons. Because the language is so specific, it really enables those children who have a difficulty with reading to access the same amount of knowledge as everybody else. You know, you may have a specific learning difficulty to do with your reading or to do with your communication, but that doesn't mean you are SEN for every area of the curriculum. And this is where the assistive technology that's within Teams or within Microsoft is able to be used to level that playing field. Have you used this one as well, Jo?
Yes, this is, I think, one of the most powerful tools in Microsoft's bag of tricks, really, isn't it? It's absolutely amazing and makes such a huge difference to children. But I say children, and obviously children with needs, but it's also adults as well, isn't it? Adults have really really love seeing this, and those that are sometimes a little bit worried about possibly saying, I have a difficulty, this sort of makes everything inclusive for them as well, without them having to feel that level of embarrassment or, fear, or however they might feel about this. Hopefully they don't, but, sometimes it does come with that, doesn't it? And this does, as I say, it levels the playing field for children and adults alike. It's great.
And where this is good as well is you'll see an interview with a year 6 child later. And I used this with him last year just to improve his fluency. Now, that sounds really strange that I was using this for fluency. But when you're teaching reading fluency, you use repeated reading. So you might do a first read for your understanding. you might, well, you'd have a first read for vocabulary, then you might read it once for understanding, and then on the third time you start it with the fluency. So through the repeated reading, it's making those connections between words, phrases, and then sentences. And he used it quite a bit in year 5. He doesn't need to use it in year 6 now, but you'll see his confidence later when I'm interviewing him on how he can use tech in the classroom. So are there any questions about that one on Immersive Reader or Picture Dictionary?
No, not at the moment. But I was just going to say to yourself as well, how do you go about showing the children how to do it themselves? How do you actually go through that process?
So it's about modelling it to them to start with. Normally, the children pick up these skills a lot faster than I do at my age. But if you've specifically tried it out, practiced it yourself, and then you can model how the children use it. And it's really simple with Immersive Reader because all it is clicking. If you're doing it within Teams, all you're doing is clicking onto view, and then you see the symbol of the open book, which is Immersive Reader, and then it just launches into that screen for it. So really, really accessible. You don't have to do anything special other than click on view. And really easy.
And I know this is, I still think it's an important thing to mention. I know we think about SEND, but I think in terms of EAL children as well, you're probably going to talk about this, so I don't want to mention it if you are, but I know there's obviously the element of translating into different languages as well through Immersive Reader too, which you're probably going to talk about, so I won't say anymore.
I haven't got that one on for tonight, actually. I've spoken about that one before, but I've not used Immersive Reader as the translator. I've used the Translate app through Microsoft, but not Immersive Reader, but yeah.
Yeah, so it has that tool as well, doesn't it? I think, like you say, with the open book symbol there, if you go to that, you can then obviously look at actually translating the text that you can see there into a different language. And for most of the languages, it will also read it out aloud as well. And I think the languages are pretty accurate. I think the only thing that might differ sometimes is the
order of the words.
Yeah, and the tenses. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
But that's brilliant, isn't it? If you think about some of the new children that we have arrive at our schools who have no English at all, to be able to switch between English and their first language and look at the same text in both to make those connections, that's really powerful for them, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with what's happening at the moment. I think, yeah, it's going to be a well-used tool.
Definitely, yeah. Okay, so the next one that I've got here, which again is an assistive technology. So this is using the dictate function. So this is a very quick video of Jack. He's only in year 2, so he's 6. And he's got an image there of the Fire of London. And then this is about him already rehearsing his sentences to check that they make sense. So this was used for him to generate his sentences. Then he was able to go back, see if they make sense before applying them into his writing.
The houses that were very close together, so it was easy to spread, full stop. And then a big fire started and it got bigger and bigger, full stop. And they travelled on boats to get past the River Thames, full stop. It was very hard to escape. Lots of people was running, full stop. And lots of dead people all came, full stop.
So what he was able to do there is he started dictating and you could hear him using full stop. So it's about making it clear. And when you see him in class or the other year 2 children in class, they use top for writing. So they will quite often do the action for a full stop. But he was able to say it here. Now, after he'd done the dictation, he was then able to go back and read through it and see which made sense and which didn't. And he was able to point out he'd used and an awful, a lot within the same text. So it was like, well, what could we do? And he's like, oh, I need to get rid of some of those ands, and my sentence shouldn't begin with it. So he's able to modify it and edit it, and then he can apply it into his handwriting. But well, he can handwrite it then into his book, or you can use it just on the notebook, just like that. But again, the dictate option is within most of Microsoft's communication tools. So really good there. Now the next one, this is Cruz, and this is who I told you about. I interviewed. I asked him last week. I said, Cruz, would you mind if I interviewed you about how technology makes things easier for you? And Cruz absolutely loves maths, but has sometimes in the past struggled in English lessons. But through using blended learning and through using technology, his confidence has really, really flourished. I don't think Mr. P, the head teacher, could believe how confident he was when he was explaining things to me earlier. So I'm just going to play that to you so you can see the impact of blended technology on children, especially when they're not feeling confident. About why you like using technology in the classrooms. What's the best bit about technology? What's it help with?
It helps with spelling. So if you get something wrong, it underlines it with red. It also, you can click it with your mouse, and then it shows you options to what it is. So it gives you a couple different options. So if you get, it's probably one of the things. So if you spell giraffe, like let's say you put G. So if you put giraffe and then you miss a couple letters in it and you spell giraffe or something, it will underline it, and then you can click it with your mouth and it will give you like giraffe.
So do you do this when you're on notebook?
Yeah, well, OneNote we call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on Word as well?
We don't use Word, but the only times we usually use Word is when the same thing happens on Word, but the only time we use Word is if we're like, so we use it, we either get like 3 options, usually like sway sometimes.
Oh, what's that?
It's like, it's just a thing that gives you like options. So if you want pictures, you don't have to go into Google to find your pictures. You can just search it.
So has it got like a mini search engine
Yeah.
within it?
Yeah.
Ah.
There's also slides and sway, so it's like another like Word, like it's like Word but a bit advanced.
And you like sway, do you?
It's a bit hard because it's a bit.
But you've made some.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay.
Like,
what else could you use the spelling option in?
You could use it in. I'm pretty sure it works in Word. I think it also. I think it shows you it in Sway, and I think it does all the same things.
Brilliant.
I think the only thing it don't work on is like Google.
Okay. What else do you like? In what other ways do the computers or using blended learning help you with your learning?
You can add fonts. So if you can't really see it, you can add fonts, and you can add fonts if you can't see it, that font. You can add different fonts, and then you can also make it bigger. So if you can't see it, if you have struggle, so if you don't have your glasses one day and you need to like show the whole class your thing, you can make it bigger, and then you can read it easier for the class.
And you can also the backgrounds as well.
Yeah.
You can get visual glare as well, can't you?
Like blue, black, orange. There's a few more like green.
Which can help people to focus.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And
you can also change the colour of the words too.
Brilliant. And have you ever used Word Dictionary or anything like that?
Yes, there's also thesaurus on Word too.
Ah, so you can look up for the language. Yeah. Brilliant. And what's your favourite lesson in the whole
maths?
Maths. And how do you use the computers for that?
We usually have pens, so we can write numbers and work it out that way.
And is your notebook, you use OneNote again,
yeah.
do you? Yeah. So are all your lessons on the OneNote?
Usually, yes. If we're looking at links, we usually go on Teams to open the links. But anything that usually involves maths and all that, OneNote. But if sometimes it is on Teams, like, yeah.
Brilliant. Also, if you were struggling to remember the procedure for your maths, was there anything on the OneNote that you could use to remind you?
There's also shapes, so you can like say Roman numerals. You can do shapes, and you can also like so let's say you're trying to make a square for maths. You can use the shapes, and all that.
What about, does Mr. Lambert ever make anything that he puts onto OneNote that will help to remind you of what you've got to do?
He sometimes put links in the maths, and usually the links are on Teams, but for OneNote he usually puts them in maths. I've seen a few links on maths.
And does he do little videos as well? Sometimes.
I don't know, because I usually don't go onto the videos. I usually just carry on with my maths, because usually it's easy, and then when I get to the challenges, you usually look at them.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Cruz. You've been a great help. So you can see, you wouldn't believe that 2 years ago this child was incredibly quiet, incredibly shy. He would never have volunteered to have this interview. You can see how his confidence has grown. He's very confident in using different tools for his writing, for his reading, and the confidence he's got in maths, he's able to show it now. Whereas 2 years ago, he wouldn't have told us that he was good at something. But that impact of having that blended technology within the classroom, he has his own device, as all the children do. But it's really empowered him. You know, it's really has leveled that playing field for him. Was that okay for you, Joe, about listening to Cruz there?
Yeah, it was brilliant. I was just thinking, so does he have his device all the time, just in case he needs to access it? Is it there on his desk, as and when he needs it? Yeah.
Yeah, all the children have their devices on the desk. Most of the lessons are taught through the children having their devices. So all of the maths lessons are taught through OneNote. I hope you all heard him correct me when I called it Notebook, and he said we actually call it OneNote. So OneNote is like an online notebook. So the teacher can plan into the notebook, and then that's distributed to all the children. Any resources, any aid memoirs, so word banks, any things to remember about angles or anything to do with maths, they're all saved in the content area. And then the children's lessons are on there. And later on, you'll see how I mentioned the videos, thinking that Cruz may be one of the children who uses the videos, but he said it's too easy, he doesn't need them. But those videos are put in there to model it as well, and really simple, but I'll show you those ones later.
I was just going to say, could you explain that? But that's coming up, so that's fine. That's not a problem. But I was just thinking, he's very articulate, and the way he's talking about that, you can see the confidence, as you just said, how that just oozes out of him, doesn't it? It's really grown. He
was incredibly shy at the beginning of year 5, incredibly shy. He'd hide behind his fringe, and it was just I did a video a couple of months ago about using relaxation techniques in the class teams, and he was one that absolutely loved it and kept saying to me, Mr. Jin, you're going to add some more of those now, you're going to add some more of those, but wasn't afraid to be videoed, to be recorded on that one either, not talking but being recorded using the different tools that we'd put in there. And it's just amazing to see how his confidence has grown. It's lovely. I mean, you'll probably see me smiling all the way through that one, because it's just...
Yeah, I can understand why though. Yeah, lovely. And Ruth has put, it's great to see the confidence that's built up too. So, you know, it's really evident in that video. So thank you for showing that.
And that was just a quick one this afternoon. Mr. Pete was in here working, and his face was like, oh my goodness, is that Cruz? Because, you know, he just had a couple of questions and then he just went for it.
Yeah.
So it's lovely.
And the knowledge he has as well, the knowledge of the apps and what he's using.
His knowledge definitely exceeds mine, because he's really good at being able to switch between different screens and to be able to access any tools that he needs. Even though in English, obviously, we need to have the physical action of writing as well. But in English, the work is planned in the OneNote, not the notebook. It's the same thing, but I call it the notebook. So it's planned in there, and then there will be practice activities within the OneNote. And then the children might draft or play around with sentences there, and then they'll apply it to their written composition at the end. So those tools are constantly there for them. And if you go into our classrooms, especially with the older ones, you just see they're not prompted to use them as tools. They're there and they access them when they need them. And that's where it levels the playing field, because It's not like, get your devices out now, look up on the dictionary. They're using them to enhance what they're learning as a tool, just like we do as adults. If we're doing a presentation, we're used to using, whether it be online, or some of us like me might sometimes still use a physical dictionary, but we're used to using them. And this is already starting to be embedded in our children. So if you think about how that's going to enable them for secondary school, you know, being year 7 ready, they're
Absolutely.
already one step closer, aren't they?
Yes. And you're absolutely right. It just shows just how inclusive it is. It's making every child feel valued and have that voice and be able to share their work. But Ruth has just asked Estelle how to ensure the balance between technology and handwriting.
Now, obviously, my area that I'm really passionate about is English. So we have to make sure that that is balanced, because it is a physical action, and it is one of the areas that after lockdown had suffered, we found that the resilience for children's handwriting and the stamina for writing at length had been affected by home learning. So what we do, I mean, it's a blended approach. So it's not all about having devices out at all times. You might have the devices on the table and the children access them to use it as a tool to enhance what they're doing, but we put a huge onus on the presentation element of their work as well. So all of their English work, and not all of their topic, but about halfway, I'd say, is physically produced and presented in their books. Also, what we do is, so they do have the handwriting practice to build up that stamina as well. And most of that is on paper, but we also use the devices for that. So all of the children who have got devices, they have a stylus as well. And they have, the screen is an interactive screen, so they're able to turn it around and to be able to use it to scribe on. So you'll have some handwriting lessons where it's done actually on the screen. The other thing is when the children are completing their work in maths, yes, it's done on the notebook, but they are still physically writing, but it's recorded because it's annotated on there, which you'll see in a little while. You'll see a page where I've gone to get a video from. So there is no way that using a device would ever replace the children recording their work physically. It's about being truly blended and choosing when the technology will make the learning better and when it won't. And we've really drilled into staff that they've got to be confident enough to say, right, okay, yeah, this makes it better. Let's do it. I'm not sure about this. Let me as a teacher play with it first and find the way through that makes it have an impact for our children. So when we introduced different apps and working through teams, we tried a few to start with and we mastered them. And then we thought, how can we apply these to different situations? Then we take another couple, master those, and then apply them. But it's about really mastering them to make it better rather than just for the sake of it. Does that make any sense?
No, it really does. And you're absolutely right. It's still about that balance between the book and the device. Both are out on the table. Both are being used side by side. It isn't purely about having the work just on the device itself, is it, Estelle?
No.
I know it's a joy to actually see, to watch the device being there as an aid, but actually the workbook's out next to it. The children are looking at that for an understanding, a point of reference. But obviously everything they're doing then is in the book. But as you say, with the maths, even though the maths is actually on the Onenote, they still have the opportunity to have a jotter next to them, don't they? So there's that handwritten element going on as well. But also the devices are all digital, you know, allow digital inking. So again, the handwritten is still happening, isn't it? No matter whether it's digitally or in the book. So I hope that answers your question, Ruth. Thank you, Estelle.
The children are really skilled at using the styluses and digitally inking as well. They're much better than I am. Mine's huge when I use digital inking. But they pick it up really, really quickly and then become very skilled very quickly.
Yes, and just thinking about that as well, the styluses, we've actually purchase some more now that actually look like they feel and handle like a more of like a pencil, so that the actual the benefits of writing on the screen are better too. So again, we're constantly thinking about how we can improve this for the children.
I suppose if it looks like a pencil, then we're going to be thinking about the tripod grip, so it's mimicking that same grip. Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. Ruth's just added, is physical investigation research also encouraged, e.g. library books, Globe School, etc., not just Google?
Yeah, definitely. And we have to teach the children right from the beginning about the validity of anything they research online, because as most teachers or parents will know, if the children have got a homework project or any research to do, they'll try to just copy and paste something straight off of Google without even reading it and think that it looks great because there's lots and lots of writing there. So built into topic curriculum and the computing curriculum is about the validity of research that they find online, but also what's appropriate. So thinking about the purpose of their work constantly, rather than just finding any information about the heart if they were asking for a certain specific bit. But yes, there is the physical side of research as well. All the classrooms have still got globes in. All of the classrooms have still got dictionaries. We have specific topic books for the children to use. A lot of the schools in Discovery, they subscribe to library services, and all of the schools in Discovery have their own school libraries as well. And you'll know, as the topics build up in schools, you tend to have the teachers have built up like a mini topic library for each of those topics. So you've got those research books, and still the skills of using an appendix or a glossary. They're part of our English lessons because it is still a vital skill. We have to teach that as well, so the children can understand how to find information. And there's nothing better than seeing a child with a physical book sitting down and really enjoying it and poring over it.
Yeah, there's nothing better. But
the only funny thing is, if you sometimes the odd time, and I've done it and I've seen the odd child, is they'll go to a page and try to swipe on it as if it's an iPad or a device. But they're still doing the physical action of reading and researching. So don't worry, that will never disappear from our classrooms.
Ruth just added so many questions, but Ruth, it's nice to have the questions because it absolutely clarifies what this approach is. So more questions if you want to, absolutely fine. Thank you. Thanks, Estelle.
Oh, I thought there was another question coming, sorry.
No, not yet.
Okay, so then the other element of using blended technology to enhance learning is by using technology to apply the science of metacognition. So when we do repeated learning and repeated practicing constantly, so all of the schools have got timetable rock stars in Discovery, and you know that is the quick recall of the times tables and trying to get faster on your times until you get that level of automaticity. You also have that for any schools that use spelling shed. We also use phonics play and numbots. Numbots is one for the younger ones, and so is phonics play. But these can all be tailored to the individual children's ability, so we can set tasks that support them to practice and get that automaticity and recall at their level and then slightly above their level, so we're improving their knowledge and understanding constantly. Century is a program that we use across all of the schools, and it's forever expanding the nuggets, they're called, sort of like online learning lessons that the children can use. So you can use assessments at the beginning of a science or history or English topic. Then the children can follow a pathway through where they're practicing it, and then they can do an assessment on the end. And that's becoming more and more integrated into the planned curriculum, the planned lessons, so that we can use those as assessment and find the gaps that we need to teach more. We need to explore more to ensure that the children have that greater understanding of it. But there are lots of apps and online games that you will see used in school and at home that are exactly for that reason.
Absolutely, and that gamification is really powerful, isn't it? It's not, you know, when I think we say games, it's not again, not a game for the game's sake. It's about gamifying the learning to enthuse and encourage them, you know, to keep, I suppose, keep practicing, keep trying, and it's that overlearning element it adds to it as well. But the other side I was just going to add, Estelle, was how it's personalising the learning for each child as well, isn't it? Especially on sensory. So they don't feel as though they're competing against anybody else, but they're just trying to improve their own learning in their own way, you know, on their own platform, which again is a really
definitely. And other children don't know which level other children are at. So if we take spelling shed, for instance, in a year 4 classroom, you might have a child working on the equivalent age of a 12-year-old spelling. But then within the same class, you might have another pupil who is accessing phonics shed through spelling shed, who is working at a 6-year-old's level. But they're practicing the skill that's right for them, and it's not apparent to anybody else. It's only apparent to the teachers, so that they can keep setting it slightly higher and celebrating the accomplishments that the children make. So, and if it makes it attractive by gamifying it, let's just keep doing it. If it keeps their enthusiasm there, they're learning. So let's make use of that.
That's it. Barbara's just added that her son loves these games and they've really helped with his mental maths. So it's good to hear. Thank you, Barbara.
Definitely, it scares me sometimes when I walk past one in the corridor. If there's one in the corridor doing times table rock stars, and then they're going that quickly, and I can't think about it that quickly, and they're just absolutely whizzing through it. It's amazing. So.
And Ruth just said, love introducing the games element along as long as they understand the learning element and why they are doing what they are doing and the context of it, which again is what we really aim to put in place, isn't it, Estelle?
Yeah, and definitely. And these type of games that are made here tend to be knowledge based. So it's when logistic steps of knowledge need to be learned and overlearned to embed it into the working memory so that they can constantly retrieve it. So if you think about the times table rock stars, that's constantly on the times table. And, you know, I've heard lots and lots of times people who are sort of like my age, and they've said, oh, you know, you just automatically knew your times tables from being at school because you constantly went through. Now, I was a child who didn't automatically know my times table, even though I was always first to get my badges at Redlands when I was a child years and years ago. But I put strategies in. But making it into a game allows them to get that automaticity because they want to increase the speed. So I was able to fool people. I could get there, but but it does tend to be these little nuggets of knowledge learned and overlearned and overlearned and overlearned, and that's what suits these ones that have been gamified. It doesn't suit everything to do with education, but these chunks of knowledge that we need to know, that's where it helps.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're absolutely right as well. That's what we do in Monitor too. We do look at and listen to the children. To some of the pupils don't always enjoy this way of learning, and teachers are listening to that as well. And that's where I would say it's a blend, it's a balance. I think you would agree again with that, wouldn't you, Estelle, that there's some pupils, the odd one or two, that just don't like this way of learning, and so they are given, you know, an alternative option, and the classroom teacher makes sure that they are planning and teaching to their needs as well.
Definitely. And you know, you'll get sort of like one in a year group, one in a class, who will tend to opt out of this because they don't like the competition element. And that's where you put the alternative strategy in, so that they can see a way that suits them, and definitely personalised in that way.
Yeah.
So the next one I've got here, this is from Dyslexia Gold. So this is to address a specific need. So we've purchased as a school Dyslexia Gold, and I know some schools use, I think it's called Nessie or Go Nessie. There are several different ones for dyslexia, but this is used with it's used throughout school with different individuals, but this is how year 2 are using it at the moment. So these are using these 2 specific programs. One's on fluency and one's on recognition.
Ow. Which word rhymes with coat, cow, goat, sheep, Read these sounds with me. Then we'll read the whole word. K, ul, ow, cloud, spell, cloud, k, ul, ow, d, right, cloud.
So again, these would be led
Some words are
with a teaching assistant, and it'd be a small intervention group. So in year 2, we have lovely Mr. Liston. He takes about 4 children out every single day just for a 10-minute intervention with Dyslexia Gold. The one that you just saw there really focuses on the segmenting and blending, which you'll know from younger children and older children who have struggled to start with to grasp that concept. You'll have lots of children who are able to recognise the separate sounds, but when it comes to blending together, even if we say just do it really quickly, they find it hard. So seeing that physically happen upon the screen, just for that 10 minutes intervention each day, really helps them there. The next activity that they do here is about identifying words that have the same spelling but different sounds. You know, English is really, really complex. So this is another activity that they do daily. So this is one that they will do independently while Mr. Liston is working with the other child on the teamed work. So they have the word come up, they can click on it to be spoken. And this one is about the difference of the letter A being pronounced as A or A. And all they're doing is dragging it into which area it's sorted into. And then they're practicing different spelling as well. So that was just a really quick one on Dyslexia Gold that we use, but it's about
nice. So I was just going to say, it's nice how they vary it. You know, it's the same thing, but it's the variation that adds, isn't it?
Yeah, and there are some elements of both of those that you'll find on Phonics Play. And Phonics Play you can access so many different areas for free, or you can subscribe. And there'll be similar activities on Phonics Play, but the ones on Dyslexia Gold, you've got more activities. They build up. It starts off with 2 activities as they're getting used to the program. Then it'll introduce another one once they're secure, then another one. So it becomes quite quick paced in the end. But to the children, even though I've seen Mr. Liston do this with year 2, this looks more grown up to them, so they quite like it. That it's not Ob and Bob, who we've all seen at Phonics Play doing the alien words, real words and not real words.
Yes, yeah, and like you say, it's good to have another platform to add a different challenge as well.
Definitely. Okay, now this next one, I'd asked staff, I said, right, okay, what works best in your classroom for assisting children with SEN or any communication difficulties? And year 3 said to me, oh, we use Flipgrid all the time. Now, I've only used Flipgrid twice. And I says, well, what do you use it for? And they said, it's really good because the children get to practice verbally composing their sentences. And they might text map it to start with, then they record it on Flipgrid, and then they can play this back and pause it at any time to apply to their writing. So I'm going to show you a really quick Flipgrid. This is on fossilization. This girl had covered her face up, so that was really easy for me to use tonight. Okay.
When an animal dies, the skin rottens off and water comes in its bone, and then the water dilutes, and then the bone, the fossil, and then it turns into a fossil. Then the fossil comes to the surface, and then people can dig it up.
So you can see from the background, you've got this happening all around the classroom with other children, and they've blurred the background, but it's not distracting her from her project. Obviously, we assess with the children. We notice the teachers and teaching assistants, they will notice if this is too distracting, that everybody is doing this at the same time. And there will be children with difficulties that this will be too distracting. Then we facilitate that in a quiet area so that they can do this. But these year threes, if you go up there, they're so used to using Flipgrid and videoing themselves that they just get on with it. When I was looking through the assignments of this, I couldn't help but laugh, because there are some where a child will just pop in and the child who's recording themselves will just continue regardless. But what they do then is they have this played back and they will be thinking, right, does that make sense? So you'll notice again, this child here used a lot of ands. So she would take the first chunk of information, put it into the sentence, write it down. Second chunk of information, put it into the sentence, writing down. So it's about orally practicing it to aid their understanding and their word order within sentences.
I was just going to say about the power of the oracy skills there that it's giving each child. Yeah, it's just amazing. But also Barbara's added that it's another app that her son loves to use, and he's shown how to use it at school and now use it to record videos in his spare time, and it really helps him with his speaking and being able to say what he's thinking. He also enjoys adding backgrounds and music to it as well. So thank you.
And some of the ones that I've seen with our children, you know, these I just looked through all the year 3 assignments for an example for tonight, but they've got backgrounds and everything. What we do is we do teach them that it's about the composition first, then if they've got it done in their spare time, they can go back and enhance it, obviously. So yeah. But no, it is really fascinating. We came across this in I think you recommended it, Jo, when we used it in lockdown, and some of the presentations from year 6 on a healthy lifestyle were amazing. They were fantastic.
And I think it's what you just said there as well. It's such a versatile tool from all the way from EYFS all the way through to year 6 and beyond. You know, I've seen some great examples of it being used in secondary as well.
Yeah, and our foundation stage, I've just started using it, just trying it out. And it's amazing to see the youngest ones having a go at using these.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the last bit that I wanted to talk about is how you can use the learning platform to adapt it for the individual children's needs. So yes, we're using the learning platform of Teams. We use OneNote, although Cruz will tell me off if I call it the notebook, because I'm just old-fashioned. So we use OneNote and we have a class notebook within OneNote. It means the same thing. You'll notice here that the background colour here is a very soft yellow, and that's been specifically chosen by the teacher here to reduce visual stress. So we have a couple of the children in there that have dyslexia, and it's the bright white that puts them off. Now, I've just screenshot this and put it on, but it would look smaller to the children. But using those backgrounds to reduce the visual glare makes it much more accessible for the children. The older children will change the background themselves now. If it's too much, they'll go to one of the muted colours and which colour suits them as well. What you can also do is on there is put the lines in there. You can add lines to certain children so that they can annotate upon the lines to give them that extra support there, or squares if we know if the children prefer to have the gridded paper for their maths working out as well. So it's about adapting that notebook. You will also see, this is the year 6 team, the incorporation of different elements. So some of the things will be put into notebook, the class notebook, and some things will be added to the different channels. So you see in each of Discovery Trust Schools year group teams, you'll see that they have many channels. So they have all of the areas of the curriculum, they have an intervention group channel, they have an ELSA channel, and all these different channels. So within those channels we can post, it might be a lesson starter using Kahoot or BlueKit, or it could be a form for the children to do as their homework, and they will be added into there and the children will get a notification to respond to that as well. So we can use the notebook, we can use the channels, but we can also add the different apps that we want them to use across the top here so that we've got them on the toolbar so that they've got a direct link to those apps, so it saves time on them accessing them. So in the year 6 one here, we've got Sentry, we've got Timetable Rockstar, Spelling Shared, Kahoot and BlueKit. And it's just seamless to the way that the children access those. Now, this is the maths one that I wanted to show you. So I've made this very small so you could see what was on the notebook and just screenshot it. But you'll see here we always have an access route. So this shows the children what the challenge is and if there's something that they want to try out first to gain their confidence. And it goes towards the purpose. So you can see that we've got a rapid recall. So they always work on that element of metacognition and remembering those facts at the beginning of the lesson. To build their confidence up there. Then they will go on to the main task. And this is what I was trying to point out. I was trying to get Cruz to tell me that he used the videos all the time, but he told us it was too easy, he didn't need to because he likes maths. Within the notebook page here, you'll see that there is a link here and it just says useful video. Now this was devised by Mr. Lamble, who's one of our year 6 teachers. And all he does is he takes a video of himself going through the process. So at any time in the lesson, the children can click on this link and be reminded of the process that they're using. And it doesn't show his face or anything. He's just screen recording and you can hear his voice.
Okay guys, so right, today we're multiplying by tens, hundreds and thousands. And as you know, if you're multiplying by 10, 100 or 1,000, it's getting bigger. The number you are working on gets bigger. So either it gets 10 times bigger, so it moves one place, or it gets 100 times bigger, moves 2 places, or times by 1,000 moves 3 places. The easiest way to remember that is how many zeros are in a number. So there's 1 0 in 10, so it moves 1 place to the left. 2 zeros in 100, so it moves 2 places to the left. 3 zeros in 1,000, so it moves 3 places to the left. For example, if I have a number like 0.3, excuse me, 0.3, then we'll put an extra decimal point in. Everything, and I want to times that by 10. 0.3 times by 10. And as I said to you, because it's got 1 0, that's how many places it moves to the left. So it gets 10 times bigger. So we've got 0 moves there, and we've got the 3 moves there. So the answer is 0.3. Now, because we're before the decimal point, you actually don't need that placeholder there. So the answer is just 3. You don't need the extra 0.
And Barry, Mr. Lamble goes on to model the times in by 100 and 1,000. Now that within their notebook page is so empowering for them because at any time they can get that process modelled again. Now, if that was in a classroom without the link there, Mr. Lamble would have to try and get round maybe 10 children a lesson to keep going over if they felt unsure. But this gives them that element of independence because they know that they can go back and have a look at that model practice. And that's something that we've seen as we've gone around, especially with the older classes again. And it's just been so brilliant in bringing the children's confidence on.
And I think, Estelle, it's a way that I think all teachers have always said, wouldn't it be great if we could duplicate ourselves in the classroom? This video, the way that is being used, is a way of duplicating the teacher because the child can access that again from their teacher at any point in the lesson, whilst obviously the actual teacher is supporting a group or a child, you know, in the class where necessary. So it is very effective, and it's like you said at the very beginning, it's about how you're using the tech to enhance and enable. It's not about it. The tech is not the lesson. It's not the teaching. It's not the learning. The tech is the tool, and the teaching, and yeah, it's all about that, isn't it? And
I know, Mr. Lamble, if he spoke to you, like to start with, he was like, oh no, this would take far too much time, and then he went and had a go at it, and it doesn't add to your planning because you're just speaking over, you know, doing a screen record and then adding that link in. So it takes as long as it is for the recording, which is normally about a minute.
That's right.
And it saves the time on going around the classroom.
Yeah, completely. And you're right. And repeating it again, or if they've misheard, they've not quite heard it correctly, again, replay it. And personalising too, because and about the pace of the learning too, because again, they can can judge, they can watch a small snippet and then maybe think about it, process it, and then watch a little bit more. So again, it's just a great tool, isn't it, that one?
Definitely.
Very powerful. So I think there's not any more questions, Estelle. So thank you very much for sharing all of that with us this evening. It's really nice to actually see it and how it's being used in school, you know, with children, with pupils effectively. I think for me, I suppose listening to you speaking, and I'm going to forget his name now, but yeah, speaking to Cruz earlier, that was really powerful because of how he's just very confident now, but just seamlessly, he doesn't see it as being anything different. This is just a tool that's in my classroom that I use. It helps me learn. That's all it is. You know, it isn't a distraction.
Definitely.
It's blended in. Yeah, really good to see that. Thank you. I think we've just got something being typed at the minute, Estelle. So yeah, just Ruth put, great to see what is available. Barbara's added, thank you. Such great information that I will take back to my school and discuss with the SENCO to see how this can be used to support the SEN children and other children that are struggling. And there's big thanks at the end. So yeah, thank you very much. And thanks everyone for joining this evening. I really hope that was useful. If you do have any questions, you'd like to know more, please contact me or Estelle. I'm really happy to talk about this further with you. You can see Estelle and the staff at Mowmacre are doing great things there. So thanks for sharing and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks everyone.